Yeah, keep your finger on the button. Oh, that's just for the film.
When someone dies, that person is dead. The word dead is not a hard word like the word hippopotamus. But for some of us, words like die and dead are hard to say because they mean something has happened to someone that you liked a lot. But once people die, they stay dead. It's not like playing a game, where you have a turn playing dead and then you give your friend a turn. That's fun. Actors on television play dead too when they're acting. Then you see those same actors again later on another show. Well, they are just playing parts. You see, in real life, dead is final. It's not a game or a movie. It's very real. The dead person doesn't come back to life, ever. But still you may pretend. Lots of us do this when something hurts us. So you may think to yourself, well, I'll just make believe the person really didn't die. He just went away on a long trip, and he'll come back someday, you'll see. But now, think about it. That's not real. Any more than most of the stories on TV. Wishing doesn't make things come true. No matter how much you miss and love the people who died, pretending cannot bring them back. Well, let's talk about the real world, the world of life and death. What is dead? Do you remember when you saw a squirrel lying in the road? Still, not breathing, not moving. It was dead. It could never breathe or move again. It was dead. Well, it's the same for people who are dead. The body does not move or breathe. It is silent. It is peaceful. There is no hurt, no pain, no life.
Yeah, keep your finger on the button.
Many people cry when a person dies. Well, that's because you are sad. Most of us, boys and girls, men and women, cry when we are in pain. And our tears are one of our ways of showing how much we miss and want that person who is dead. Also, well, you might feel angry. You might think to yourself, well, why'd this have to happen to me? Didn't this person love me enough to stay alive? You might be mad at so many people. You may become grumpy, sometimes for, just little things. But many people feel this way. And you may feel like just running and running. Well, it's all right to let go of some of your feelings. You may feel better if you do. You might want to draw a picture about the way you feel. That's what Johnny did when his aunt died, and it made him feel better. Sometimes, after a person dies, you worry, like maybe I made him die. You remember the times when you were naughty or nasty to the person who died. But now those things don't make people die. All of us act badly at times. So remember, thoughts can't make people die. But even so, you may feel very sad that the person is dead and you can no longer talk or be with them. You might want to share some of your feelings with a parent or other grown-up. Being older doesn't mean that they're not afraid and lonely and sad and cannot understand how you're feeling. When you talk together, you learn from them and they learn from you. You both help each other. They do want to help. They may have answers to some of your questions. You may want to know what happens when a person dies. Well, it's like when your goldfish died. Maybe you put its body into a pretty box and lined it with paper or cloth that your mom gave you. With your friends, You dug a hole to place the box in. You covered it with dirt. Then, it is a grave. You buried your goldfish. Well, maybe you even put flowers on the grave. But what happens when people die? Actually, it's much the same. First, the dead person may be brought from the house or the hospital to the funeral home. The family decides how and where the dead person will be buried.
Keep your finger on the button.
The funeral director helps families when people they love have died by explaining what choices are available. The family then chooses a casket to place him in. A casket is like a box and is made of special metals, wood, or steel. Well, the family even decides which clothes the dead person will wear. Often people then decide to leave the casket open so that others may come to see the body. This helps people understand that the person really has died, so many may no longer pretend that the person is still living. Friends often send flowers and come to the funeral home. They do these things to show that they cared for the person who died. And also, they do these things to show their friendship for members of the family who are still living. A service is held in the funeral home, in a church, or in a synagogue. Prayers are said by a minister, or a priest, or a rabbi. He may talk about how the person who died meant so much to all who were there. After the service, the people go to the cemetery. It's like a parade, but a very sad one. Before the family and friends arrive, a backhoe or workers dig a hole where the casket will be buried. It's called a grave. Afterwards, prayers may be said. The markers may be made of stone or wood or bronze. It tells where the person who died is now buried. This is the way families most often take care of their loved one who has died. Sometimes they decide to put the body in a special building at the cemetery, a mausoleum, instead of the ground. Many people visit the burial spot, called a grave, months and even years after the funeral. People may feel better by visiting the grave. It's a kind of remembering time when some may bring flowers to mark the grave. Even though it may still hurt, as time goes by, you'll be able to remember the person. It may not hurt as much as when he or she first died. You will remember the times when you were kind and pleasant and helpful and loving to the person who died. You may even laugh as you look back on fun together. It is a permanent reminder of life and loving. You will never forget the person who died. But more important, you'll always remember that he or she really lived. And this memory will bring you happiness.